Okay, so this is day 2 of doing the One Day My Soul Just Opened Up by Iyanla. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, so I'm not gonna butcher it anymore. I got, like I said in the first video, I got this book from the library basically for free. It was $1, but she didn't have change, so she just gave it to me. We are on day 2. And day 2 focuses on trust. So a little like recap of what was said in it was that trust, basically the working definition, is the resilience upon divine, or it is the reliance upon divine for all substance and supply. So it's not only trusting yourself, but it's also trusting that the divine works within oneself. And then within that, she starts to go into the difference between trusting someone and putting your trust in someone. And she says, when you trust someone, you recognize them as a representative of divine energy. However, you see them in the highest light possible, knowing that no matter what they may do, it does not change who they are at the core of their being. Yes. And so then next she goes into what putting your trust in someone looks like. When putting your trust in someone, it means that you expect them to do what they say they will do, which is usually something that you should be doing for yourself. She goes, trusting in someone usually means that there is something that they have that you believe you need, or something you have that you believe they can take away from you to cause you harm. And so she goes into like a story of when her friend trusted, her friend's brother was on drugs, and the friend trusted this, her friend's brother was on drugs, and he had told the sister that he had been off of drugs for a while, and so asked if he could have a place to stay. Well, one day while staying in there, the brother basically robs the sister blind. Blind is quote unquote, because then she talks about how it wasn't really blind, and he said he was trying to get clean, but trying and doing are not the same thing. And then the sister talks about how she had locked her door, and then in this she was like, if you really had trusted him like you said you would, then you never would have locked your door. Like, that was, in that moment, she should have trusted in the divine wisdom that God had given her to know that something was not right, or that something could be possible, and that should have led her to not do it in the first place. Which I was like, oh, okay. Like, for me, there might be some guys that I've dated, and they were great, or at least I felt like they were great, but I never would tell them where I stayed. Even like this one guy that I dated for like 4 or 5 months, never told him where I'd stay. And in me, there was something that was like fearful, and I eventually stopped talking to him. But like, I think in those moments when I first felt that I didn't feel comfortable letting him know where I stayed, I should have trusted that wisdom that God had given me, and to know that even though I don't see what could happen, or I don't know what it is that's causing me to feel this way internally, that I should trust that and be like, hey, like, maybe this isn't for me. Mind you, I didn't find the guy that attractive. Everything else about him was great, but I didn't find him attractive. That's why I ended up not doing that anymore. She then goes to say that the brother is stealing the sister stuff. She basically didn't lose trust because the brother didn't kill her, and everything that was stolen can be replaced. So there was no harm done. She ends with, trust the divine to provide you with everything you need to live fully, peacefully, and abundantly. You are trusting that the divine will manifest through people. Trust the divine to provide you with the wisdom to make the right decisions under every circumstance you encounter. So the questions for like the morning journal was, after reading today's commentary, I realized, and I put, when trying to trust men, I usually am trying to put my trust in myself and show that I've grown, like I'm not dating losers anymore. And I'm doing better and not talking to the same type of men, but it was still a facade because I didn't actually like the men that I was talking to, basically, what I said earlier. I just wanted to show myself I could trust myself. When dating, I always see men as something I could lose, but for some reason, I never see myself as something I can lose. And I believe, or something I believe that could be taken away, like myself, my peace, and the broad idea. And then I realized kind of like within reading this that I never saw myself as something that could be taken away from. Like the only thing I thought a man could take away from me was sex, because it had been taken away from me. But now that, like, when I was writing it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm putting all of my identity into intimacy when there's so much else that I am. I'm not sex. And just because that had been taken away from me, I didn't die. I'm not like, I can't not love. Like, I still am able to love. I am not my past decisions. And like, that was something that had happened to me, but that is not who I am. And I needed to stop trying to just figure it all out on my own and kind of trust God and trust that He had instilled in me certain things, that like certain warning signs. But I kind of like don't love trusting myself because I don't want any more painful lessons. And then the next question was, key phrases I want to remember and work with today are trying. I always think like, oh, they're trying to be a good person. And then now that like I've read this, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, because I guess she's right. She does have a point. Like, you can either be trying something or you can be doing something. And there's a very big difference. And when, like, even in Atomic Habits, one of the books that I was reading, it says, like, if you want to be a runner, you don't say, I want to be a runner. You say, I am a runner. And then that will, like, do some rewiring in your brain to believe that you already are that thing so that you can actually become that thing. I think trying is the same as like wanting, and it puts this gap in between us and like what we are striving to get. And it makes it seem that like it's almost out of reach for us. Like we want to reach it, but we can't. But when we say we're doing it, it puts us right at the line of what we're trying to be. And it allows us to push past that point and actually be it. Just food for thought. And then I also put that today I'm going to work on trusting someone as human, putting my trust in God and the divine that dwells in them covers over more. I don't really know what I was saying with that. And then I put, no one can steal or take my place next to the throne. So I don't really have anything that I should be scared of, so that I should trust, because no one can take that from me, that what God's called me to be and who He's called me to be. And that I probably need you see I'm doing it again. I am going to trust the divine in my financial situation. There were some affirmations here that she put. None of them really stood out to me. It was basically like, I trust God to lead me today, and I trust God to protect me today, and I trust God to give me what I need today. But one of the reminders is trust in self is trust in the divine, and that one stood out to me. And then the evening journal, that's what I just finished. It says, today I found it difficult to trust when, and this one's big for me, when I'm making the right decision, which I feel everybody has that problem, when I'm being too hard on others versus when I'm putting like a boundary down, and like when I've kind of like reached the max, and too hard on others and myself, when I'm distracting myself versus when I'm gaining rest and growing. Sometimes I like lay in bed and I'm like, oh, this is God like telling me that I need rest. But it really could be just me being lazy. I'm not sure. Understanding that my life is moving towards something, even if I don't see progress. And then it says, today I found it easy to trust when. And then for this one, I said I find it just a tad bit easier to trust that God hears me, to be okay with my alone time, and to trust decisions I made even when they weren't the best. because I made one. I was supposed to work yesterday and today. And my roommate was like, oh my God, my mom's going to come up. And I had a trip, and she was like, just put it in giveaway and you can hang out with us. So that's what I did. I put my trip up into the system, and someone took it immediately. And I'm telling you, it was like 18 hours at the beach, on the beach. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this must be a sign from God that we're going to hang out. Her mom never came. She never came up here. So I basically gave up work, and I had told myself I was going to strive to make more money because I live where I work now, and before I was commuting to work. And that because of that, I should try to make more money, and there's more things that I'm wanting. And I had let myself, I don't know, that was a decision that I was struggling with. And it says, today I realize I find it difficult to trust myself when, again, I'm making a decision when I need to let go, when I need to rest versus when I need to push myself. Trust myself when I feel alone and forgotten and I don't have anyone to seek validation from, like, to ask for validation, and versus when I'm trying to be nice versus when I had an agenda. The third day is going to be based on prayer. So come back for day 3.